What's up, guys? It's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. Today we have What If Issei Was Deceived? Part 2. If at all possible, we could hit 500 or 600 likes. I know at least 100 or 60 of you are in the premiere right now, so go ahead and hit that like button. I know you're here, bruh. Okay, and if you guys want to know exactly when I upload, so that's my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button, or the first link in the description, or the first link in the premiere, or the first link in the comment section. It'll all lead you to when your boy upload schedule is. I cannot thank you enough for all the support that's been going on. We just hit 43,000 subscribers, and we're pushing to 45k, and our goal is 50,000, and that would be absolutely crazy. I don't even know how to express it. We're also pushing 70,000 on Popowski. That's insane too. But thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. Remember, the author is ZBX6779, who wrote this story. This is Hollow with a Heart rewrite. Fantastic story. If you're hearing this, man, absolutely amazing. But without further ado, let's go and thank my balance breakers. Aunt Lewis, Lachlan Yates, which is a Juggernaut Drive member. All blue names, remember, are Juggernaut Drive members. Thank you so much for becoming one of those. But anyway, let's continue. Jordan Patchow, Night Ammo, Refeek135, Ryan Monk, John Bame, Keep Saying 21, Undefined Truth, VR Wolf, Dark Phoenix, CK2000, Shen Bian, Chaotic Raven, Noda Tracks, Dr. MG is the Bomb, Grim Fireshot Gamer, Jerry Vive, Source Bonder, Rob the King, in Zero Fusion. And somebody told me to do this for in the intro, so they donate me like $75 or something. But would you guys like to see what if on Classroom of the Elite? If you want to, I can do it. But I just want to ask the question because he told me to. So yeah, hopefully I can get that 75. Anyway, so thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. And also High School DxD episode 4 reaction is out now. Episode 5 should be either tonight or the next day. I also reacted to the Gear 5 episode over on Aunt Popowski, so you guys should check that out. It's in the description below. And thank you so much to my Patreon members. Once again, I just released DxD episode 4 on there, so I just watched it. So yeah, David Tanner, Ryuga, Lachlan Yates, The Black Dragon Emperor, Brendan Dossett, Stripelanger, Mark Bacon, Sharklock, Jay Dawson, Kefir Windsor, and Godkiller. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon member. Now, without any further intrusions, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into part 2. Chapter 4, Angry Valkyrie. The next morning, Issei woke up earlier than usual and got out of bed. He noticed Akano sleeping out cold on the uncomfortable floor. He sighed. He gently picked her up and placed her on his bed. He got ready for school and made coffee for himself. As he sat there savoring every bitter drop, taking in a rich aroma, it was interrupted by Azia walking in. "Oh, good morning, Issei," Azia said. "Morning," Issei replied. "I'm about to make some French toast. Do you want some?" Azia said. "No thanks," Issei replied. He didn't even make eye contact. He finishes his coffee, then washes the mug. He put the mug in its rightful place, grabs his bag, then goes to the front door. As he walked to the school, Drake spoke up. "Never thought you would say no to her French toast," Drake said. "I'm not hungry," Issei replied. "Congratulations on being a free devil," Drake says. "Thanks, it feels pretty good," Issei replied. "I'm proud of you, Issei. You controlled your anger last night, and still plan to uphold your promise to Sire Orc. But what about them during the match?" Drake says. "I'll protect them physically during the match, but they should learn to defend themselves. They should have figured out why now, since they know that I won't willingly do it anymore," Issei says. "I think the rating game is the least of their concern. I could tell that they regret being so cruel," Drake says. "Too late for regrets. So the match begins soon. We need to train. Can the Rook promotion armor do the job?" "If we try hard enough," Drake says. "I'll request a leave of absence from Sona. We'll train day and night if we have to. And end. This time, no power-up from some stupid pair of tits," Issei says. Drake was surprised. "Drake, what's wrong? Is Volley here or something?" "Who are you and what have you done to my partner?" Drake says. "What the fuck, Drake? What's gotten into you?" Issei replied. You just called the Grammarly's girls stupid. The Issei I knew would never call breasts stupid. Who are you? Am I in a genjutsu?" Drake says. "Drake, this is the new me. I sold all my porn and made good cash. I actually made a huge profit. Maybe I should become a businessman. My lust got me in the mess, so yeah, I'm done with tits, porn, and such things of like. I just feel empty inside." "This feels so unnatural," Drake says. "I would agree if I felt anything at all right now." Issei reached before Rias or the others. He encountered the two pervs reading a magazine. He completely ignored them and went to class. The two pervs didn't even notice him walk right by. Some of the other students noticed that he came earlier and alone. They started asking questions to why the girls weren't with him. Moriyama and Kadase ran up to him. "Hey Hyodo, where's Rias and the others?" Kadase says. "Don't care. Don't know. Now move. I gotta get to class. I don't want to deal with this bullshit first thing in the morning," Issei said. His cold stare scared them. "What did you do to him?" Moriyama says. "Nothing. And a piece of advice. Stay out of it. Now get out of my way," Issei says. They saw his eyes flash green for a split second. They stood aside and watched him walk to class. "Was that really Hyodo?" Moriyama said. "Was that look in his eyes even human? I'm scared," Kadase replied. The girl started telling all the girls that Hyodo isn't acting like the perv he usually does. The ORC wasn't with him when he arrived and didn't look at any of the girls other than straight into their eyes, with a gaze that scared them. After a while, Rias and the others arrived. They were looking for Issei. They went to the clubroom and didn't find him, roof, cafeteria, and not even in the usual peeping spots of the girls' locker room, but instead, he was reading a book in class. Once they found him and tried to approach him, the bell rang and the teacher entered. The teacher was Ross Visa herself and told them to take their seats in their own classes. Asuya, Irina, Zenobia, and Issei had the same class, and the whole time they kept their eyes locked on him. Literally everyone noticed their actions and how Issei straight up ignored them. He'd either look at the board, his books, or the window. During break, Asuya and Zenobia tried to talk to him, but he ignored them each time. He ignored everyone, including the pervs, as long as they could, until they asked him to go peep on the other girls for the 10th time and asked if he could convince the girls to let them grip their breast. He snapped. "Listen, you sons of bitches, I don't care about looking at bodies anymore. Forget ass, forget tits, or whatever you're both into. I'm done with girls, love, or anything related to both. Go peep on them and get your kendo swords up your asses. If you want to feel a woman's touch, then go ahead and do it. But I won't visit you assholes in jail," Issei said. His yelling was heard by every guy and girl nearby. The two pervs fainted, some gasped, some choked on their own spit, or some looked at him just wide eyes, especially the girls. Akiya, Kiryu, and the pervert girl in Issei's class couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Hey Issei, did I hear you correctly?" Akiya said. "I just said it loud and clearly enough for half the school to hear. Clean the drum out of your ears. You're going deaf," Issei says. Akiya was dumbfounded. Some of the students around them tried their absolute hardest to control their laughter. The ones who couldn't hold it in far and burst out laughing. "Damn, Issei, that hurt," Akiya said. Issei took a deep breath. "Yeah, I'm sorry. I haven't been myself," Issei says. "I'll say, you've never been so savage." "What happened to you?" Akiya replied. "Oh, just getting my feelings manipulated and getting my heart ripped to pieces by whom I fell in love with, and others who I gave my life to," Issei says. "Wait, what? Forget it. It'll only raise more questions. FYI, in case Rias asked anyone here to join our club, don't. You'll regret it big time, 'cause I fucking do," Issei says. "And what did they do?" Akiya replied. "Pray you never find out," Issei says. Kadase and Moriyama show up and ask the question, "Do you really not care about these two pervs?" Kadase says, "And you really stopped being a perv?" Moriyama replies. "No way, these two were really friends. They did leave me to take beating in their stead a couple of times, being a perv. I'm done with it. Ladies, have fun beating them up. If you need a knife or any other melee weapon, then let me know. I sold all my stuff and now plan on owning a knife collection. I can tell you how to use each type since I did some research. It's way better than porn," Issei says. With that, he heard everyone whispering, but he didn't care. He just wanted to leave. Again, "I'm sorry for the comment I made. I'll make it up to you," Issei says. "How about lunch together?" Akiya says, "Tomorrow?" Issei replied. "Deal." He leaves the school after getting permission from Ross Visa. On his way home, he decided to take a different route and found himself in a unique marketplace. It sold self-defense weapons such as brass knuckles, switchblades, and spiked rings, etc. They caught Issei's eyes, and he really liked the unique designs. He went home fast and called the carpenter to fix his door. The carpenter showed up with a new door and fixed it. Issei paid the man. He took some of the cash he made earlier. He went to the shop before and purchased a lot of weapons. He basically started collecting as he wanted. The author of the story showed like his knife collection. They're actually pretty cool. Anyway, I loved his collection. Issei loved his collection. "I should have collected these instead of porn. Cold steel over paper any day," Issei says. Issei placed his whole collection in a box under his bed. If anyone expect in the box, then they are a painful surprise. Issei started to train in his basement. He put weights on his limbs and started to train. The stronger his base form, the stronger his balance breaker and promotions. He trained for days and nights and lifted weights to gain muscle. He even learned to fly using his devil wings. The others would eventually try to join him, but he paid them no heed. One night, Kiba had enough and stood before him with his sword drawn. Issei saw the look in his eyes and knew that this time he won't back down. Issei summoned Ascalon and promoted. Tonight, he doesn't need Rias' permission any more of that. Ready? Kiba said. Shut up and fight, Issei replied. He charged at Kiba at speeds that surprised him. He barely dodged Issei's attacks. He just saw the tip of Ascalon swing just a few meters from his eyes. He continues to attack and aims for the vital spots. Kiba thinks to himself, he isn't training, he's trying to kill me. Kiba can only dodge and block his attacks. He can't find an opening to strike as Issei wasn't giving him an opening. His speed and the force of his strikes increased considerably. Kiba was trying hard to maneuver himself, seeing multiple after images of the blade coming towards him. He couldn't tell which one was real and lost his balance during the confusion. During his fall, he could only see Issei with his fist cocked back and saw it coming fast. Kiba put his sword up to defend. Issei punched it and force sent Kiba backwards and stumbled on the floor. His sword flew out of his hands and pierced the ground next to his head. It broke half 3 seconds later. Were you even trying? Issei said. Just how did you get so fast and strong so quickly? Kiba replied. Issei replied. He took his shirt off and removed the weights from his limbs and torso. He dropped them on the ground, making it crack 4 impact spots. That's how. Old school, Issei said. You were that fast and strong because of those weights, Zenobia said. I was slow and weak because of those weights. Imagine if I didn't wear those, Issei said. Shh, Kiba replied. With the cherry on top if I boosted my power, Issei replied. They looked at him and they saw his body. Lifting those weights and using them to increase his strength and speed yielded incredible results. Even Konako blushed after seeing his figure. It was looking like Bruce Lee's. Wow, Issei, you look, hot. Issei just puts his shirt back on, and much to dismay of the ladies in the room. I'm done for the day. I'm going to take a shower, Issei says. Do you want us to join you, Akano? She teased. Go in your own bathrooms, Issei replied. With that, he left them alone. Rias fell to her knees. You okay, Rias? Irina says. No, not in the least. I hurt him so much, and all because I didn't let him finish, Rias says. Do you still not get it, Rias? Rosvisa said. You told him right to his face that you regret turning him. Should have let Rainier kill him again, and then struck the final nail in the coffin when you told him that your ex-fiancé, who was self-centered, arrogant fried chicken, by the way, is better than him. Issei is the only man who saved you from abusive marriage, gave his arm for that, fought stray priests and took light spears and used the Juggernaut drive for Ozzy and reduced his lifespan to 100 years, if he's lucky compared to the usual 10,000 years of a devil. Saved Kiba from getting consumed by revenge, gave Zenobia a broader outlook on life, and made her more accepting to those around her regardless of their race, averted war by fighting Kokaville, who was a Cadre level fallen, by the way, whom none of you stood a chance against, stopped Volley from killing you all right after the meeting, nearly died fighting Fafnir and Loki. He literally used his body as a shield for you. If it wasn't for the Phoenix tear that Fravel gave him, then he would be dead. Among us, who is worthy of wielding Mjolnir? None of them answered. Only him. He accepted Akano as a fallen, helped her accept herself, made Gasper become braver, lived to fight for you and others he cares for. He helped Konako with their Nekoshoto heritage, taught her and Azia to swim, gave Azia home, no less loving parents who also treat you like a family, including me. Hell, just being around him made me feel confident. He achieved Balance Breaker to protect you and Konako. He cried for you. Kiba, he disobeyed Rias to help you avenge your fallen comrades, all while making sure to let you become consumed by revenge. Irina, how could an angel such as yourself not unbelievably kind and beautiful soul he is? Did the fact of him being a devil completely overshadow something so obvious? Just note that he never chose this life, or to have a sacred gear that painted a target on his back. He accepted it because he didn't have a choice, and made the best for it himself, and others too. He saw and loved all of you for who you were, so tell me, why couldn't you all love him for who he was? Rosvisa said. No one could reply, as they were too busy crying their eyes out. The old Issei is still somewhere in there. He did stop Sir Zex and Gravia from ripping you all a new one, but don't think for a second that any of you can help him. Rosvice says, what does that mean? We hurt him, so it's only right to we fix it. Ozzy said, put yourself in his place. How would you feel if someone you're in love with put you through what he experienced after hearing what he told him? Rosvice says, he's in love with us still, Rias says. Rosvice had turned red and snapped. Are you serious right now? And I thought he was dense, but I was clearly wrong. He is just cautious while all of the girls are dense as a black hole with an IQ as a negative the temperature of the coldest ice spell. I swear to Odin that if you only waited for him to finish his confession, then none of this would have been happening, Rosvice said. Rosvice finally said what she was feeling. She tried being the calm and rational one, but it wasn't enough. She started to cry after listening to everything he did for everyone without asking for anything in return, other than maybe a little love and support, which should honestly be given for his efforts and sacrifices. Everyone was so messed up in their cries that he heard through the whole house if it wasn't for the barrier surrounding the training field. Some of the girls dug their nails into their skin until they bled. The others nearly ripped their hair out. Kiba held his sword to his heart in the end and just dropped it. And then on the ground, he crying till his tears ran dry. Today was a bad day for all of them. And that was the end of Chapter 4. Chapter 5. What do I do? As Rosvice exits the training area, she closed the door behind her. She wiped her tears and sees Issei standing there. I thought you said you were going to take a bath, Rosvice says. I was, but I needed to get a minute to calm myself. I nearly took Kiba's head off. Issei says, what's wrong? A lot. Issei said, yeah, hey, thanks, Issei replied. For what? For everything. I owe you big time. You told them what I was feeling, Issei said. I wanted to remind them that you would have felt guilty for having to remind them yourself, because if you did, then it would look like you did all of that just so they would owe you. Am I correct? Rosvice says. You're the same age as us, yet wiser than everyone around you. Issei says, thank you, Rosvice replied. I'm going to grab a drink. Want to join me? Sure, we could both use one, Rosvice said. They head to the roof and enjoy a few drinks together under the moon. A small bonfire was lit and it was very relaxing. It was calm and peaceful, unlike what was happening in the training area moments ago. Azazel had appeared with a flap of his 12 wings. Having a drink without me, Azazel says. The party doesn't start until you walk in, Issei replies. He popped open a bottle and poured Azazel and Rosvice a drink. Thanks, kiddo. You both look a bit better than before. You should have seen it. Rosvice here ripped them a new one. Her response was absolutely savage, Issei says. Oh, like what? Azazel replied. Like how they are as dense as black holes with IQ as negative as the coldest ice spell, Issei says. Azazel's spat his drink right in front of the fire, which ignited the alcohol and turned the flame blue. Azazel said, guys, come on, it's not that funny, Rosvice says, and they all started laughing. Issei started, I know, they deserve it, but I still feel kind of bad that they are in such a state right now, Issei says. You're conflicted, aren't you? Azazel replied, understatement of the year. As much as I hate them for what they did and said to me, a part of me still cares. Issei said, how come? I bet you completely stopped loving them. It's complicated. I've seen them at their worst and best. The way Rias comforted me when I was worried, her kindness, consideration, love, her kiss. I had a crush on her and I fell in love with her. The day I finally beat Riser and got her out of the marriage. She and I rode the back of the Griffin. That was the first time she kissed me. I unlocked my balance breaker with her help. Just wish I did it a better way. Issei says, well, to be honest, I did tell you to do that. Sorry, Azazel replied. It's fine. After the recent show, Rias' mother showed up and asked me to protect her not as her pawn, but as her lover. She and her husband already considered me as their son. Sir Zex and Gravia see me as their future brother-in-law after what happened. I don't want to hurt them like that. I still remember the time I made the clay sculpture of Rias, Issei says. But there's more, isn't there? Rosvice says. Too much, honestly. I helped Akano accept herself, and I accepted her in her heartbeat, the way she would help me when I needed it, like with classes, magic, etc. Her pot roast is the best. I remember our first date and how Rias, Zenobia, Azia, Gasper, and Konako followed us. We managed to get away and accidentally made it to the Love Hotel zone. We encountered her father and Odin. I remember him ditching me and going to the strip club, that old fart, Rosvice says. Ha! Azazel replied. So Odin left after we talked. Akano and Barkill got into an argument after she told she didn't want to see him. He left and she was really upset. So much that she tried to force herself as me as a distraction, Issei said. But you didn't do it, right? Azazel replied. Of course not. I won't take advantage of her like that. Just a few days ago, I woke up one morning and I found her sleeping in the floor of my room. I picked her up and put her on my bed. Speaking of not taking advantage, just who was that guy you beat up? You know, the one who was after Ozzy, I think. That was the Doria Astaroth, an asshole that targets young nuns like Asia, tricks the churches there into excommunicate them and take them personal playthings. Just thinking about how he took Asia made my blood boil, Issei says. Then Shalba showed up, Azazel replied. Just when all of us saved Asia, Shalba sent her into the dimensional gap. I thought she was dead. In my unstable state, I entered into the Juggernaut Drive. It was incomplete and I lost my life force, as both of you already know. I heard that Vali had to use Juggernaut Drive to reduce your power, Rosvice said. It was also him, Byoko, Arthur, who just happened to be in the dimensional gap. They saved Asia, and after Volley divided my power, Rias called out to me. I could hear her voice, and it brought me back to reality, Issei says. What was it like to use the Juggernaut Drive, Sizzle replies. I don't remember it because I only saw Rainier appear again and again, whispering in my ear, making me feel exactly like I did the time Asia died after she removed her sacred gear, constantly telling me that I failed to protect her, and she was right. I thought Asia was dead for real this time. Rainier was the first girl I fell for, but she killed me after our first date. I can't believe I fell for her on our first date. Fuck, Issei said. I'm glad she's dead. She sealed her fate, Azazel replied. She was the one that Rias knew about, Rosvice said. I was honestly scared of women, but I got over it and opened my heart to all the other girls in my former team, Issei said. Because you wanted a harem? Something like that, Issei says. The reason I let them all in was because I thought they all loved me, and who am I to break their hearts? All I ever wanted in life was love and support. The harem thing was just a cover-up. I would have been labeled as a wimp and a pussy for saying what I want. Love is when guys around my age usually want sex, but I was always different. Fuck being the harem king, such a stupid goal, Issei says. What is happening? Drake says inside of Issei's head. Azazel and Rosvice are widen their eyes. The day we all started living together. My parents were proud of me for once. They always wanted a daughter or two, so imagining the surprise when all the ORC girls came into their lives. For once, I had friends, correction, a family whom I could trust completely, but after being chewed out for something that wasn't even my fault, or maybe it was, Issei says, what do you mean? I was just a perv my whole life until up to this point. Maybe this is karma for the things I've done. I wasn't exactly a saint, Issei says. You've done so many amazing things and saved lives. Karma has no power here, and what you did was their mistake. What they did was their mistake, Azazel says. They should have known that confessing one's feelings take time. They can't rush it, Rosvice replied. I was ready to confess my feelings for her. She helped me become stronger. They all helped me save Asia and gave her a new life. I couldn't believe it when she said she loved me. That she wants to be together forever. But, Issei said. But, Rosvice replied, after what happened at the club room, I could tell from the look in their eyes that they really hated me, as if I was trash, and it only gets worse. How is that possible? It's possible because I'm still in love with them. They saw me as their future husband, and I couldn't reject such love as live with myself by breaking their hearts. I don't know if I could overreacted at the club room or by jumping at the chance when Sir Zex offered me to become a free devil, and what Sour Org will think of us. What everyone when they eventually find out I'm no longer her pawn. Just how much will this hurt not her reputation but the entire Gregory household? I feel as if a coward for not confessing sooner and properly, Issei says. Rosvice was silent. Tell me, who else was part of Rias' plan to add me and Hazia into her barrage? Issei said. Rosvice and Azazel looked at each other. Issei saw them having a look of refusal on their faces. They know, but they don't want to tell. Guys, don't hide it. You know it, then just tell me, Issei said. Issei, it'll only hurt more, Azazel replied. It's better than not knowing who my true murderers are, Issei said. Azazel was silent. You have a right to know, but you should know this first. Asia tore Rias a new one. It was satisfying, Rosvice said. Nice, Issei replied. The other one knew about it are Akano, Kiba, and Konako. They were just following her orders, but that's no excuse, Rosvice said. Issei was surprised. I'm sorry, Issei. We were just as shocked as you, but I know that they truly regret their actions. Azazel said. Issei was trying his best to hold back the tears he thought lay bare. The betrayal was eating away at him. Kiba and Gasper used to see me as their brother. and they as mine. But after what I said to them about no longer being their brother and nearly taking Kiba's head off, Zenobia and Irina wanted to have a family with me. Akino and Rias certainly seduced me, thus my attachment turned into love for them, but certainly not vice versa. It seems, me and my lewd nature, Konako was starting to like me, but as to how, I don't know, but I wouldn't reject her feelings. I can't really blame Azia. She and I were put on the same sinking boat, but I'm still so angry when I know I shouldn't be. Right now I'm conflicted about if I have the right to be in love with them. Should I even be in love with them? Being told by the first woman I truly fell for and would willingly say that I should have been killed twice, and the guy she never wanted to even think about was becoming a better option, really made me question my love for them, to put it mildly. I realized that day I was only revived because of the boosted gear. It wasn't because she cared at first, but because she needed power to free herself. Despite knowing that I was nothing but a means to an end, I still would have helped them. Azia was used the same way. We're back in the same sunken boat. But she said herself she's happy with all of us. She didn't lie. Can she even lie? I never heard her even try to. Shh. I took my anger out on her, something that isn't her fault, and now I'm no different than Rias. I don't know what to feel, Issei says. Razvaisa was shedding tears while Azazel tried his hand to keep his hands from shaking. Issei's words were giving them a clear entrance to his wounded heart, and if they were in his place, they would have either killed them or themselves. I just wanted love like everybody else. Was I asking for too much? Maybe I was. Polygamy is a bitch. I found out the hard way. There are even more people that can destroy you in an instant. Fuck. I'm sorry. I've been rambling since the start. I need a drink, Issei says. He poured himself a large brandy and drank it in seconds. Issei, do you regret falling for them, Azazel says? I just regret falling in love so quickly. About falling in love itself. I'm not sure in the slightest, Issei says. If Cupid was real, then I'd kill him, Rossweiser replied. I would ask him only one thing, Issei says. And what would that be? Azazel replied. What did he aim for when he missed my heart? Issei says. I doubt he would have an answer. Guys, thanks. I needed this. You're always looking out for me, and I can only hope to repay the favor. I'm a free devil now, so call me when you need me. Sure, kiddo. I need to know what you did with all the you used to have. Sold it to the collectors, and I used the cash to start a knife collection. Want to see? You bought knives? I love knives. I have a small collection too, Rossweiser said. Let's see what you both have. I appreciate good blade as much as the next guy, Azazel says. I'll bring my collection back in a minute. I keep mine in a pocket dimension, Rossweiser said. Issei smiles and goes down to get the blade collection. I know what you did, Rossweiser says. Whatever do you mean? I saw one-way communication circle below Issei's chin just before he left. You made Rias and the others listen to his words, his thoughts, his true feelings, Rossweiser says. Yes, I did. He needed to let it out, and they needed to hear it from him. I know he wouldn't tell them directly, and right now he wasn't angry, just hurting really badly. He didn't have it in him to tell him to the face, and though the one-way communication circle, they couldn't cut him off. I can't imagine Issei holding all those mixed feelings in this the whole time. Such emotions destabilize sacred gears, but that didn't happen. He's stronger than ever. But is it worth it? Azazel says. I hope this doesn't backfire, Azazel, Rossweiser replied. There's calm before a storm, and so far it's only been a light rain, Azazel says. Rossweiser takes out a few knives from her pocket dimension, and Issei shows up the blade box. It has become a dragon skin blade. The blade.collector, I'm assuming this is the author. There's some pretty cool blades images right here. And a few blade switches. This one is a dragon skin blade, Rossweiser says. What? He replied. It's only called that due to the similar designs of dragon skin, Issei said. You scared me, almost as badly when Issei said that he hated breasts. My nerves can't take it anymore, Drake says. You hate tits? Who are you? Azazel said. That's what I said, Drake said. Oh, calm down, you two. I don't hate them. Not all but my love for them greatly reduced to normal levels. There's more to a woman than her physical assets. Azazel opened a bottle of scotch and drank it all. He then sat by the fire and stared into it immensely. You broke him. Duo next, Rossweiser says. They laughed and admired their collection and enjoyed their time together, while Rias and the others just sit there, feeling as conflicted as Issei. They needed to make things right. What do we do? Irina says. We don't know, Akana replies. Issei, I'm sorry, my love. Rias says. We have to make things right. He still loves us. He's still in love with us. Sinovia says. He's not the dense idiot we know. Love. He's more of an angel than I met him. Than I am, Irina says. She spreads her wings, to which were now somewhat great looking. Irina, your wings, Kiba said. She and everyone looked at them. They were surprised to see them in such a state. We have to fix this or you'll fall, Akano replied. After now I heard him, I'm surprised I haven't fallen yet. Forgive me, Issei, I have failed you, Irina says. You didn't pray to God this time, Gasper said. It's forgiveness we need to earn, Kiba replied. Guys, we need to give him some space, Akano says. You heard what he just said. He still loves us all and wants us, Rias said. Did you not hear everything else he said? We made him doubt if he's worthy of love. He saw the hate we felt when we thought that he wasn't confessing, and we pushed him into the corner, so let's not do that again. I have a feeling that I have a part of him that doesn't want to even be in love with us anymore, especially with any woman here. I wouldn't if I were in this place, Akano said. They all looked at her, and she's right. He was traumatized by Rainier. He was afraid of women, and this is one of the reasons he didn't take advantage of us. He earned our love. We made him think that we all took it back. He overcame his fear and opened his heart to us until that day. Let's not hurt him anymore, please. She started to sob uncontrollably. And that is the end of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Back to square one. After Issei, Rosvice, and Azazel had their fun, Issei went straight to his room and put his collection back under his bed. He's ready to go to sleep. He really needed it. So, partner, tomorrow you need to meet up with that perverted girl, Drake says. Yeah. She and I are having lunch. I remember how those two pervs passed out, Issei says. After how you told them that you don't like breasts, I think many of them lost their grip on reality for a minute, Drake says. Yeah, I bet it was a highlight of their day for the others, Issei said. To be honest, you and her were the biggest pervs. There's no offense, Drake says. None taken, but what's your point? Now have the two of you not fucked each other's brains out? Drake said. Bruh, Issei replied. Sorry, I hope you two become good friends, or I dare say something more, Drake says. Okay, moving on from that horrific conversation, what should I get her for lunch? How about a home-cooked meal? Good idea, Drake, Issei says. Issei went to sleep since he had to get up early to make the meal. Unfortunately, he didn't notice the presence of Konako, who partially heard conversation with Drake. Issei and Akio? I'm gonna be sick, Konako said. She went to her bathroom and puked in the toilet. The next morning, Issei woke up early and made a meal for Akio. After his rambling with Rosvice and Azazel, he felt much better and decided to make lunches for everyone there. He packed the one for Akio and went to school early. He met up with Akio and gave her lunch prepared. Too bad he didn't notice the entire ORC spying on him. This caught the attention of the other students as they saw Issei and Akio talking alone with a homemade meal in her hands. Yesterday's rumors were still a hot topic, and this will start a flame on the other way around. During lunch, Issei and Akio sat on the bench. The ORC were spying on them from a distance, but couldn't hear much due to the noise caused by the cars driving on the nearby road. With Issei and Akio, they could see the two having lunch and having a good time, even sharing laughs. Oh, how they got jealous. And then they followed us on our date, wearing a tiger mask, surgical mask, a hat, sunglasses, and a paper bag. They all tried to hide behind a pole, Issei says. Geez, Akio replied. Then we ran for it and somehow ended up in love in the hotel district. Issei said. He leaned his head backwards and Akio started to turn red. The other girls were watching from the side as Issei's head couldn't be seen and followed Akio by turning red. They jumped. They spirited towards them and reached in 4 seconds. Issei, did you kiss her? Rias says. Issei and Akio jumped at her yelling. What the hell, Rias? I can't spend some time with my friend? Issei replied. Looks like you two are becoming more than friends. I saw you kiss her, Rias said. So did we, Zenobia replied. Akio turned red again. Rias started to cry, and Issei was getting mad again. Are you all being serious right now? Akio and I were just hanging out, Issei replied. Looks like it was more than that, from our perspective at least. It wasn't like that, we were just talking, Akio said. Oh yeah? What about? Ozzy replied. About how I can't have some time alone without all of you breaking down my neck out of fucking jealousy. Holy sh... Issei said, guys, come on, let's leave. We're attracting too much attention, Akano says. At least someone here other than Rosvice sensei has some common sense, Issei said. Ouch, Konako replied. I'm sensing a load of bad blood between you two. Oh, zip it. You're trying to get between us and our Issei, Rias says. Yours? Fuck that, Issei replied. What? Issei, Aki, I need to speak to them alone. Aki sensed the anger within him. Okay, sure, thanks for the lunch, Issei. See you later, Aki said. She leaves and makes the other students who were watching from the distance leave as well. I know that Azazel Sensei let you hear what I said last night. I noticed the communication circle I used despite knowing how I feel. Most of you continue to jump to conclusions without even asking my side or trying to find the truth, Issei says. Okay, so why did you make lunch for her? You two never get along before, Azia said. Issei takes a deep breath. I snapped at her yesterday, so I made lunch as an apology. I was feeling better after last night, so I made lunches for everyone, Issei said. We did it again, Irina said. Yeah, you did. Oh my god, Issei, we're sorry, Irina said. Save it. I don't want your hollow apologies, Issei replied. They're not hollow apologies, really mean it. Then why? Why do you continue to hurt me? Accuse me of something I didn't do. I'm trying to do right by those around me. Trying to move past everything that happened and just maybe try to love you girls the way I used to. But you're making it so fucking hard right now, Issei said. Issei, Rias replied, I'm still so angry at you for what you said and still trying to pick up the pieces, but how can I do that when all you continue to just crush my heart into dust, Issei said. His hands were starting to shake. I can't keep doing this, Rias. I quit the club. I need time away from everyone, Issei says. Rias froze. Azia went wide-eyed and the others stayed quiet. Issei, please, no, don't leave us, Akano said. I'm not leaving for good. I need a break, Issei replied. Wait, if you knew that we could hear you yesterday, then why did you not direct us telly? What good would it have done? You would just jump to a conclusion and misinterpret almost everything I would say. Look what happened a few minutes ago. You never let me finish talking, Issei said. Issei, enough, Rias. Our relationship will be the death of me, right? And I'm really pissed off. I don't want to say something that I might not regret later, Issei said, but we love you. Then you certainly won't like what I have to say right now. I don't want to hurt you, any of you, like you hurt me, Issei says, but brother, do not call me that, Issei replied. Issei's anger is increasing. The same he restrained that night Sir Zex and Greatfate came to visit was Rez first. Guys, let's give him some space, Kiba says. Issei walks away, leaving the others behind. Issei ran into Akina. Hey, are you doing okay? Yeah, I don't have the Stockholm Syndrome anymore. Piece of advice, don't join our club. They aren't what they seem, Issei says. I can tell by how hurt out of jealous that the toxic as fuck, Akina says. Let's get to class, Issei replied. Issei, do you still love them? Unfortunately, yes. They are making it difficult to keep it that way, even though I don't want to, Issei said. To make it Issei Hyoto, the lover of all women, hate them so much makes me question if they are even human. If only she knew, Drake said. If only, Issei continued. Chapter 7. Stray. The day ended and Issei marched straight home. He's had enough of Rias and the others. On his way, Kiba intercepted him using his speed. Hey, Issei, wait up, Kiba said. Get out of the way, Kiba. I'm done with every last one of you. Look, you're right. We jumped to conclusions when we shouldn't have. Too late for apologies. Issei, do you hate us? Kiba said. More and more every time you guys do shit like this. How are all you so dense? Issei said. Start training. The fight with Star Org is a month away. Issei said, can we train together? Sure, I could use a target, Issei replied. A chill went up Kiba's spine as the tone was as sharp as Ascalon when it was centimeters away from his eyes. Right. I have to tell the others first, Kiba said. Issei walks away without another word. As Kiba walked to the ORC, he told everyone to stay away from Issei and to train. Issei is in a bad state. He trained the whole day, and so did everyone else, but barely. After Issei told them what he wants to be alone, he avoided them completely. As they were training, they all got a call from Sir Zex. There was a stray, and it was different from most strays. Other teams have tried to stop it, but it failed. It causing havoc in the familiar forest. Alright, let's move out, Rias says. Irina glanced at Issei. You coming, Issei? Irina said. Yeah. I need a live target and a new familiar. There's a full moon tonight, Issei says. Issei put on his jacket and hid one of his switchblades in it. They were teleported to the familiar forest. Scary, Gasper replied. He said as he clung to Issei. Issei, however, didn't say anything to comfort him, as he usually does. In fact, he didn't even pay any attention. This brings back memories, Akano said. What was so memorable about this place? Rosvisa replied. I got my first familiar here. I electrocuted Issei a few times when he was nearby. He is protected of me against the other males. He's quite the protective little dragon, Nausea said. I still remember the slime that ate our clothes off. Rias blushed from embarrassment and looked at Issei. He didn't say anything, no slight change in his stoic facial expressions. She thought the old memory of the girls having their clothes eaten, leaving them mostly nude, would have a reaction out of him, but there was no reaction of any kind. Rias was about to but Issei beat her to it. I'll give us a bird's eye view. Balance break. Welch dragon, balance breaker, Drake said. Issei flew up a balance breaker. Should we follow him? No, he can handle himself. He told you that he needs space. Fucking give it to him. Now spread it out, teams, Rosvisa said. I'm the king here, Rosvisa. Then act like it, Rias. Excuse me? She was getting ticked off, while Rosvisa was getting angry like before. Do I have to remind you of what happened today and yesterday? How can you not just give him some space? Do you only hear what you want to hear because of your ego? What? Rias says. Everyone's around her facepalm. Yep, you're denser than a black hole. Everyone's split up. Irina and Zenobia go north. Kiba and Gasper go east. Azia and I will go west, while Akeno and our king can go south. Fine, Rias said. They split up. As Akeno and Rias were walking, Rias spoke up. She's got quite the nerve talking to her master like that, Rias says. Akeno was silent. Why aren't you saying anything, Rias says. I have nothing to say, Akeno replies. Don't tell me that you're taking her side, Rias says. I'm done taking sides, but she's right. None of us have been exactly up to the level of maturity we should. Look at what we did to Issei by simply not letting him finish his confession. Now, he hates us, because every time he tries his best to keep himself in one piece, and what do? We make it worse. But he still loves us, Rias says, and we just make him regret that. So if he hasn't broken up with you or us, but I don't blame him one bit of needing space, Akeno says, will we ever get our Issei back? Even if we get him back, he will never be the same, Akeno says. If only we... What? I have an idea, Rias said. She whispers to Akeno's ear. Rias, it's a bad idea. Not if we do it right this time. Let's take some time to convince the others when Issei calms down. We execute the plan. Well, if the old Issei is still there and somewhere, then it might... Come on, he can't resist. We're actually going through with it, Rias says. I guess it's worth a shot. Just as he said, one of Issei's dragon shots flew right past them as he hits the tree tusk in the distance. Rias! And Akeno surprised. They see Issei fighting in the distance. They call the others who flew to their location. They see Issei fighting its power, and it's very strong. Oh, it's a monster, Gasper said. What is that thing? Azia replied. Not sure, but Issei's having a tough time. We need to help. Issei and the creature took their fight into the air and used its blade arms to attack Issei, who was using Ascalon to strike back and defend. His armor and promotions weren't much of help in the air. His knight armor is thin and has a little defense. Rook defense, but so little speed, while his creature has both speed and defense despite its thin body. The bishop promotion has long-range attacks abilities and needs to archer itself. Twin cannons is an easy target. Issei, we're here. Let us help. This thing is too dangerous to fight without armor. Stay back, Issei says. Boost times 10. He ordered them to stay away. He then created an exchange slash after slash the creature that chopped the chunks off his armor. Issei landed quite a few slashes, but its injuries healed remarkably fast. You won't survive this much longer. Why not let the others help? They'll be dead then, Drag, Issei says. Issei suddenly... You're just proof from his sight, only to see it reappear behind him and bite his exposed shoulder. Ugh, Issei says. Everyone at the same time. Issei! The creature prepared what looked like an energy-based attack in the form of a spear between horns. It was preparing to blow Issei's head off. Issei elbows the creature right in the side and saw a crack appear on its skull. The creature looked dazed, and Issei took a chance. Promotion to Queen, Issei says. Cardinal Crimson promotion, Drake replied. Issei's armor promoted to its queen form. His armor was usual red and golden with green gems, but on his back were twin cannons. His dragon wings looked like they were made of red with light of golden dragons on each wings. His armor didn't look that much different appearance-wise, but the power it gave off was no joke. This armor in combination of knight, rook, and bishop armor promotions, Issei boosted a few times and fired off the twin blasters. It hit the creature directly and it was sent crashing into the ground over a few kilometers away. Issei flew full speed and used the rook ability to partially change his arm to the rook for a strong punch in order to finish off the creature. He saw it stand up weakly and punch it directly in the face. It was sent into the distance over with a cracking sound resonating in his ears. He went to the creature and prepared to dragon shot to finish it off. As he stood above the creature, he looked at it laying on the ground when its face started to crack and break apart. The crack spread throughout the body. Ready to die? What? Issei says. His eyes went wide when the mask fell off. The creature fell off. The rest of the body broke apart. What lay there was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Rias, Akano, Yakuza, or anyone didn't hold a candle to her. She opened the eyes as Issei's heart skipped a beat. Just looking at her made his heart feel whole again. For a brief moment, he just wished that it would last forever. Her presence felt like there was sure reason he exists. As Issei's armor disappeared, she looked at him and her heart skipped a beat as well. She bit her lip and she stood up and spoke. I was ready to die, but no more now that you're here, my other half, the woman says. Issei was basically in a trance by her voice. It was only then that he did sense the presence of the others closing in. He snapped out of it and looked at the woman. She was nude. He saw her body just before she used her nine tails to cover herself up. He turned red as he took his jacket and still had his blood and bite marks on it. Oh, here, take my jacket, Issei says. She took it and put it on. She snuggled herself and smiles, fully enjoying the sensation of Issei's scent on it. You have to run. The others will be here soon. You're a stray, so they'll kill you on sight, Issei says. But I don't want to leave. I want to stay with you, the woman says. Her cute expressions and the innocence of her voice made it difficult for Issei want to hear her leave. He held a connection with her. You can't if you want to live, Issei says. Will I see you again? I believe we shall meet soon, Issei replied. She gave him a quick kiss on the cheek before casting healing magic on his shoulder. She transformed into a fox that was so majestic and sprinted away after Issei took one last look. Issei looked at his shoulder. It healed enough to not raise suspicion from the others. It's not as bad as it was before, but still needs medical attention. Issei picks up the mask and blows in the place next to him. The others saw the explosion and followed its point of origin. They found Issei. Issei, are you alright? Rasfaisa says. Yeah, your shoulders hurt. Let me heal you. Thanks, Asuya. He thanked her like he used to. She smiled and healed his injuries. So where's the stray? Issei shows her the mask. That's what's left of it. Even the mask is creepy. Just how strong was it? The power it had. Ultimate class, I believe. Its speed is something else. I felt the force of its strike, but I held back for some reason, Issei said. So now that the job is done, are we going to talk about how your new armor promotion, Kiba said? You saw what it can do. You already know then. I still got a little energy in me. I'm going to look for a familiar, Issei said. Issei, what happened to your jacket? It's gone. Must have got cut up. Oh, fuck, Issei said. What? What are my favorite switchblades on that jacket? Damn! Which one? The silly toe. Wait, aren't those pencil heels? What? No! You know, those thin switchblades you saw in the first John Wick movie, the mafia boss used in the last fight, that one, and I just bought two, and I'll have to order a new one. Let's just go home, Issei says. But I wanted to help you find a good familiar. Nah, I'm good, Issei says. Rias frowned as Issei once again shot her down. They all went home and reported that the stray was strong, but it has been dealt with the minor injuries. Issei went to his room and locked the door. He sat on the bed. Hey, Drake. Ugh! Drake says. Why are you screaming? You looked away from her nude body. Just who are you? Drake says. Really? This again? Yes, you were really Issei Hyodo? Because the one I knew would never look away from a beauty like that fox. You even gave her jacket like a gentleman, Drake says. You say it like it's a bad thing, Issei replied. Even I can appreciate her beauty and sex appeal. We're not even the same species, for goodness sake, Drake says. She was nude and gross, Issei said. It feels unnatural when you're embarrassed by seeing a new girl when you were a pervert not too long ago, Drake says. Okay, enough. Now back to the topic at hand, Issei says, which is, Drake replied. What or what should I say, who was that woman? Issei said, a fox yokai, but not an ordinary one at all, Drake says. The power of hers is incredible in this mask. What kind of power is this? I don't know, but she isn't a devil, so she can't be a stray, Drake says. I'll call Azazel after school tomorrow. He can help. Wise choice, partner. Now, about that queen promotion. It's the most powerful, but you need to train more because you haven't adjusted to it yet, Drake says. Yeah, I feel tired right now, and even though I had energy to spare earlier, I'm going to not get ready for bed, but first, he pulls out his phone and places in order to order another knife. Which one to buy? Screw it, I'll get all four. He ordered all four of them and went to bed. Issei, Drake says. Yes, Drake? When you fought her, I didn't feel her presence even though she was right in front of us. Wait, what? I could feel it. It was impossible not to feel her powerful and yet blissful presence. Drake was surprised. Did I really just say that? I must be more tired than I thought. Ha! Good night, Drake. Good night, partner. And that is the end of Chapter 7. And that is where we're going to stop for now, ladies and gentlemen. Get destroyed on this magical cliffhanger. I do not care if you were enjoying the story. This one's actually a little bit different from the others because he's still around, but he's not exactly a part of the barrage. And he's probably going to fall in love with somebody else, but have them at the same time. Possibly. Who actually knows? I'm talking like I'm still reading the story. I don't know why I'm talking like that. But you guys get the gist of my point. What an interesting rewrite we have here. I don't know. The story's definitely a W to me. It's pretty fun reading it. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know what you guys think about it. If you guys want to leave something in the comment section or start a story, just put it in there or email me or something. I don't respond to every email, but I do look at them. Like, I know they're there. I just can't respond to all of them. If you guys want to become a Juggernaut Drive member or a balance breaker or a limit breaker, you should totally join right now, as I know you're in the premiere. Thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot thank you enough. Yeah, I mean, your boys, I'm doing pretty good. I can't believe I'm actually about to hit 70,000 subscribers on a singular channel. I think that's actually crazy. I don't even know how to really react to that. I can't. But yeah, so thank you so much, guys. I actually have to go back to school next week, to college. I'm a senior, actually. Thank God. So yeah, and I guess when I get there, I'm gonna upload a little less, but not too much less like I did last time. Because trust me, the only thing I have to go back now is my work anyway. So thank you so much for the support once again. I know I keep saying that. Thank you for 43,000 subs. Let's try to hit 400 likes on this video. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Spartanic Arts DxD.